Welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view, from the Casablanca. Ohio and Golden, Colorado. Hosted by Art Carlson. At 4'6", liberals fear him, and conservatives love him. He's definitely a giant among men. Now here's your host, Art Carlson.
Welcome back to Three Conservative Gimps. We've got a great show today. That was my old intro back when it was called Art's Place. And so we've made some changes. It's now called Three Conservative Gimps. And we got some great topics today. We are going to be talking about Pothole Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary who went to East Palestine, Ohio, when they had the big train wreck there that spewed a bunch of toxic chemicals about. And we'll be talking about that. And we'll be talking about Biden's trip to the Ukraine. And he showed up on the train to Kiev. So let's get this show going, and let's bring in my co-host all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. He's the effervescent Lloyd Mendenhall. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, Art. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Recovering from that disastrous weekend down in Florida.
Yeah, I never did hear about that, but maybe we'll talk about it on my show tomorrow.
Yes, okay, we'll do that.
Or we can talk about it here. Your show is your trip. So
basically, my car rental got all screwed up, and not realizing it was Daytona 500 weekend, so there were no cars. So I had to go with another company. Ended up with a Jeep Wrangler. And that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Did they provide
Once they got
stepladder for
you?
you?
I was able to drive.
Yeah, I was going to say, did they provide a stepladder for you to get you in?
Well, they shoved my ass in there and got my driving shoe on to where I could reach the pedals. And off I went down to Port St. Lucie, and then I picked a hotel that was close to the interstate, but it was a half hour away from Bill Ronan. So,
oh man,
yeah. So,
yeah.
Instead of I was originally going to go to the Best Western that was like minutes from his house, but yeah. Anyway, so that's what happened. So I couldn't go anywhere. So I basically had to just fish around the area that was.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, your trip to the Philippines is much better planned out and situated. Yeah.
We'll have a little over 2 weeks on that vacation because Good Friday falls during that. So that's like a 3-day weekend. So I get a free day for vacation. And so that'd be fun. I just need to start coordinating with everybody who I'm going to go see and visit. And James offered to pick me up and stay with them for a few days. And then I go back to Manila to fly to Davao City to see my goddaughter, Ella. And that's where I'm going to meet my girlfriend. And she's coming with one of her cousins. So that's going to be kind of interesting because there's a small island off the coast that we were going to go to a resort on the island. I was thinking if I get one that's like where you could see the city of Davao from there, and at night fly my drone and
Right.
get some cool photos of the city.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be good. That'd be good.
Mhm.
So, awesome.
And then from there, I go to Cebu City and visit another YouTuber. Her channel is called Purple Shadow, and she is
Okay.
a real estate agent. And I
Ah,
know her from another channel called Yuri Bruce YouTube channel, and
right.
they live in Colorado.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay.
so that's how I know them. So I'm going to visit her for a couple days, and then go back to Manila, and then finally spend some time with with Yolanda's family. So finally
Okay.
get to meet her, one of her sisters, Jennifer, and her family, and
Okay.
we'll have oh, also got to see my godson Daniel while I'm there
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So I'll go
Okay.
buy a big pig for dinner,
Right.
and some of the other fixins, and we'll have a big shindig.
Ah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Good.
So, and hopefully you don't get dysentery and something,
Yeah.
really
Well,
bad
I'm
over
getting all my shots before I
You're
go
getting all
down
your
there.
shot.
My malaria, my yellow fever,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
dengue, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember them shots from being in the military. They are not fun. At least the
Well,
ones we were given
I
weren't.
had to take a few of those shots the last time I went, but I didn't have to take yellow fever or dengue. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Mickey McH. Good to see you. Mike B, aka the Drone Ranger. And Dominic. Yeah. Papa Sergio. And I saw, oh, Chris
Uh,
Wedgeworth is
Chris
here.
Wedgeworth is there. Yeah.
And Lee B.
Yellow.
Singh of
Yeah.
Yellow Rose Drone.
Yellow Rose Drones. Yeah. Yeah. So awesome.
Or,
Got it. I think that's all we have right now.
yeah, so evidently, is it? Oh, now
106
Barkley's here. Hey,
Barkley
Barkley.
just popped
Good to
in there.
see
I
you.
saw that.
Good to see you. And for some reason, I'm not getting a count on how many people were watching. That's weird. Either that or they're watching on Facebook.
Yeah, no, it should be right there next where it says live.
Yeah, it says 0 right there. I don't know why. So,
Weird.
anyway, so let's jump into it. So we had a train derailment about a week ago in East Palestine, Ohio.
Ohio, yeah.
That's why Biden didn't want to go. He said he didn't want to go to the Middle East.
And there's probably some truth to that. I bet.
Yeah.
We may say it as a joke, but unfortunately, it may be true.
It may be true. And also, some of the trains had carried some toxic chemicals, and they spilled and made a big mess. And so Pothole Pete Buttigieg showed up, and he blamed Trump for it. He said the deregulation caused this actual.
Yeah, well, they seem to. I mean, at some point, they're going to have to start, taking responsibility for some of these screw ups themselves. I mean,
Right.
He's been out of office for 2 years, and of course, they've impeached him 3 times.
Why
So I
didn't
mean,
they
he
fix
shouldn't have
it
any power.
Yeah.
They've had 2 years to fix this, and they
Mhm.
haven't done it. And it took how many days for little Petey to get his tail down there? I mean, he looked like an advertisement for Tonka toys, with that little
Yeah.
helmet and his little boots,
Yeah.
and wasn't he just so precious?
Yeah, he
Oh my
looked
God!
like young Sheldon with the helmet on. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And it was like this is research, the rolling back of the FAST Act was the idea of the 114th Congress, signed off by Obama, and that's probably true. There's a lot,
Okay.
we got a lot of stuff that, because Trump did a lot of, he did a lot of presidential orders, but he didn't actually pass
Mm-hmm.
permanent stuff. And Biden should have undone, if they thought
Yeah.
everything that Trump did, why didn't Biden undo it all the day he came into office?
Yeah. He
'Cause all it
basically
took was
did on most things, but not on that.
well, apparently not. So, any time something screws up, they blame it on Trump. And my question is always is, but you've been here for 2 years. Hello, Grant. You've been here for 2 years. Why didn't you just undo it if you thought it was a bad idea? Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
for 2 years they thought it was okay, but when there's an old saying that, or an old sign that my brother used to have. Hello, Bill, in his house.
Hey.
He says, I can't blow the whistle, I can't ring the bell, but let the damn thing run off the track and then see who catches hell.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly that was exactly their attitude about this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's none of that matters. No amount of regulation can overcome stupidity. The conductors of that
Okay.
train had 3 separate high. Yeah, they did have warnings, and that was, and
Mm-hmm.
he did not put the brakes on until the third one. Yeah, I had read that. It would have not
Oh.
applied to the derailment. The act required that 20 cars marked Class 3 flammable. There would only be 3 in that derailment. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the other thing was, uh, who was it who gave the final okay to do the burn like they did? That's the derailment was bad enough, but the burn was sort of the secondary, and that was the most that was the most horrendous part of the whole thing, because that burn is what went off like a nuclear bomb.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you can even, there's one clip I think where you hear the sheriff or somebody say they just nuked the town.
Wow.
Also, there's video evidence that the fire started over an hour before the derailment, possibly wheel bearing failure. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that too, that the wheel bearings heated up. That's what the warning, that was part of what the warning was for, was that they had overheated wheel bearings, and they should have started stopping when they heard the first one,
Mm-hmm.
and that they didn't, and it continued, and the wheel bearings eventually set on fire, and that's when it created the problem.
Wow. And I don't know if you heard what Joy Behar had to say about this.
Oh, I think I may have. I'm not sure.
She blamed the voters.
Voters, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
talk
on
about
you
an
guys. You
insensitive
guys
bitch.
voted for
Yeah.
Trump. And it
Yeah,
turns out none of this had anything to do with Trump.
No,
Yeah.
it didn't. Yeah, Uncle Bill, be careful driving down the interstate.
Yeah,
But
be careful.
yeah.
Oh, by the way, speaking of turnpike, I-95 is one of the most dangerous interstates in the country because it goes through the most major city.
Right.
Yeah, and most of the accidents are there. Plus, it ends right at the border with Canada and Maine, and yet.
Yeah, and we do know that St. Augustine is the oldest city.
Yes, that's right.
European city in America. I knew that, believe it or not.
Yep, I did too. Mm-hmm.
Boston, really?
Yeah.
Poor Chuck, like, really?
Yeah.
Apparently, when he got his fancy degree, they didn't have history
Yeah.
as a requirement, because Boston. I mean, yeah, I just.
Yeah, that's right, Mickey.
It's not all there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and we keep we're starting to see some pushback. We're seeing a little bit of pushback on this cancel culture, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and this, it's started. Even Obama has stepped into the, telling the Democrats they need to chill out, and
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but there's been several things
Well, he has
on
to save his butt
exactly, yeah,
because he's the one that's started this whole thing. You know?
yes, yeah. He started. I mean, almost his first day in office, he started out with that professor, that college professor, the
Yep.
beer diplomacy thing. That's all
Yep.
because he ran his mouth before you
Mm-hmm.
know, the man had the potential. He's a great speaker, to listen to. But if you listen to Adolf Hitler, he was also had a very resounding voice. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
mean either one of them were right. Not that I'm comparing Obama to Hitler, but take it for what it's worth. We'll probably get. God, I hope that don't get you hit. This is the opinion of said person and not the
Yeah.
channel or
Mm-hmm.
the owner of the channel. So
Yeah.
YouTube. Anyways,
Yeah. Yep.
it's
So,
just gotten
oh,
ridiculous.
we got Ed. Love my drones.
Love
Welcome,
my
welcome. We
drones.
got a
Hello, Ed.
full
Nice.
house tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
it's
all we need is Steve Carpenter to show up, or
there.
Chris.
You go.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We going back to that. This blaming Trump, Joy Behar, her insensitivity towards that. These are people's lives. They're human beings, and unfortunately, the left does not see that.
Oh.
The radical left, I should say, the far left.
Mm-hmm.
They believe in free speech, providing us what they tell you to say.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of like the old saying, "Well, if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you." Well, that's the way the left has taken it. If they want our opinion, they'll give it to us.
Mm-hmm.
And this Charlie Foxcroft that they've got going down there in Ohio with that train derailment and how they're handling it. And they just you just got to shake your head at
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
inhumanity of their insensitivity and inhumanity of the far left.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's like I keep thinking, how are we ever going to get back to where we got civility coming back? I mean, it's
That's
like that's shot now because
yeah.
we got people on the far right and the far left. They don't want to talk, and
Well, I think that, and it's not just in the United States.
right.
It's happening around the world. They've just people have completely lost common sense, or for whatever reason, and I blame it on the people because we're the ones who elect these morons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We may not vote for. We're the ones that watch the show. I mean, uh, it's just it's gotten well. It's I just read something today. There's an Anglican priest that is actually having to sue because he was being fired because he gave a sermon at a Christian base at a Anglican college or Anglican school,
Right.
and they had at that said school the week before they'd had an LGBTQ spokesperson come on and speak to them about becoming more aware of who you are. And people asked, why do we have to listen to some of the students? So he gave a sermon in church, and they fired him because he said, you don't have to accept it. You have the right to choose and make up your own mind.
Right.
I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
that it's one way or the other, but this is what we are taught in the Christian church. Of course, there's a big divide with the Anglican church right now. Anyways, they're
Yep.
they're
And it's
actually
not
splitting.
just the Anglican church.
No, the
It's
Methodist
all
church is split. The Methodist church is split.
Catholic church.
Catholic churches.
I mean, look at the Pope. You got a Pope that's a leftist, totally
Yeah.
opposite of
He
Pope John Paul
John
II.
Paul II. Yeah, yeah. Or the Pope that just Pope Benedict.
Benedict.
Yeah, who just passed. He was a
Yeah.
conservative. He was a
Yep.
he was uh he was the arm of God as far as Pope John Paul II. He
Right.
was the
Mm-hmm.
he was the
Yep.
enforcer.
Well, even the Mormon Church has gone left. And that's why you're seeing some weird stuff happening in
Yeah.
Utah,
Yeah,
especially the
there's
conservatives in Utah.
but I see signs of hope of things. There's a I don't know if you've been seeing it, but there's been a college uh what do they call that? Oh, my mind just went blank. I'll think of it in a minute. There's been a big rise. There's one school or one college. They started having revival. There's been a big revival movement going across a lot of the colleges now. One of the colleges, they actually asked them to move it off the college because so many people. It ran for like 4 days, 5, 6 days straight, and it spilled over into more and more colleges. And it's the same type of revival movement that we saw back in the 70s. There was a big revival movement back in the mid 70s, mid to late 70s, and there's been people that come into that are agnostics, or one was even an atheist and said, had I experienced something like that when I was a kid, I wouldn't be an atheist now. And they went just to see what it was about, and
Mm-hmm.
they and we need a moral compass, and
Right.
we got this movement. And it's because I remember in the 70s, we had the hippies, we had the Jesus freaks, that was a
Yep.
movement,
Mm-hmm.
and of course at that time I was in the service, but
Mm-hmm.
I was also an Assembly of God minister, and we saw a huge growth in the evangelical and the movements like that. It was just huge influx of people coming into church, and we're seeing it again now. And it started at the Jesus movement started at colleges.
Well, good, 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 good. Because
So
we
there's
need
getting to be
some
some
more
pushback.
moral,
We got a lot of
focus.
we got a lot of Hollywood people starting to step up. Kevin Sorbo. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
oh, what's his name? The he was a child actor on one of those Family Ties, or one of those. Cameron something or another.
Oh yeah, Kirk Cameron. Yeah,
Kirk Cameron. Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
Not Adam Rich, because he just
No.
passed away.
Yeah, no, it's Kirk Cameron. And he just had, he's been doing these, he's been going to libraries where they've had the drag queen hour, and he's
Right.
trying to give the alternative. And of course, he just got pushback from a library, and they said they didn't want him, but he kept going, and they ended up, and they called out the library, but the people of the city wanted it. They wanted something wholesome for their kids to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a faith-based thing, and they called it a movement. That the library says we don't want to have a movement here. It's okay to have the drag queen and the LGBTQ stuff,
Yeah.
which is a movement, you know,
Mm-hmm.
bowel movement. But anyways, uh, but to have a movement of faith-based, Christianity-based, or
Mm-hmm.
Judeo-Christian based, they didn't want that. But it was okay to have that, other putrid stuff.
Yep.
And they
Well,
got called on
speaking
the
of
carpet.
LGBTQRST, you know what
Yeah.
other group wants to join them? The furries.
Oh, yes.
Oh
Let's
God,
not
it's like
forget the
really.
furries. Like, oh my
Uh,
God.
I identify as a. What does the fox say?
It's we've lost all reason
Oh,
of, we've got a generation that is just has no clue.
yeah.
And
Well, I mean, if you want to dress up as an animal, that's your business.
that's
But
right.
come on, don't force people to.
It's real simple. They can make fun of me of being an old fat white guy, and that's all
Yep.
right. I can handle it. I should be able to make fun of you for being some nerd that dresses up as a furry cat or fox or it's equal. But you can't do that in cancel culture now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, and it's just like here's an example: the very well known and well endowed shop teacher from Canada with the
Oh yeah.
bazookas. Have you seen the pictures of how
Yeah.
they dress when they're not in school?
No, I haven't.
Goes to
Oh,
the
and
store,
regular.
shops, and regular
Oh.
clothes as a guy.
Okay.
And they've tracked him
That
down,
would
and they've
be a
got photos of him.
civilian uniform.
That's his civilian uniform, and it comes down to the fact that they figured out that this guy's either trolling the school or he was about to get fired anyways. But
Right.
once he came back as a trans, well, you're firing me because I'm a trans.
Oh.
And that's how he kept his job. But
Well, he was a woodshop teacher.
yeah, exactly. If your chromosomes are XX, and that's it. I
Mhm.
keep telling people, if you're confused, look down. Before the surgery. That should help you identify.
That's why chromosome, that would be Down syndrome.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, white bread is racist. Yep. Mhm. And now they want to change. You can't say cockpit anymore. I mean,
No.
where are the pilots going to go?
This is I had this conversation with Grant last night. He was talking about I forgot what we was even talking about last night, but about the balloons and the reason they allowed it to go over and drop into the Atlantic so that the Chinese didn't have a chance of being able to recover it or any of its information, and that NORAD had probably blocked it. And I said, had this been a sane world, I would agree. All the information would have been blocked, or they would have sent disinformation to China through that balloon. But this is not, unfortunately, this is not the normal world now. We've got the chief of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the head of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, is more worried about identity politics and how we're supposed to call people than how to actually take care of our country and teach military tactics.
Mhm.
It's our military is that's why they're so worried about dealing with, are we stressing you? Are we making it a bad day for you? Do you want to be identified as they, them, thee, he, she, a, it, or whatever?
Mhm.
Instead of, we need a few good men and we need to get out there and kill some people. That's just,
Yep.
I think of their.
I identify as a general today.
Yeah, and that's the kind of nutcases they're going to end up getting, and they're not going to be able to do anything about it. Because, and that's why, I mean, we've had Chinese police stations here in New York City.
That's right. Mhm.
It's like, and now there was just a report, and I am saying this, I don't want, this isn't disinformation, but YouTube has, or not, in case YouTube's listening, there have been 2 agencies that have, am I glitching or are you?
I heard you glitch a little bit, but now you're
Okay, well,
fine.
you're glitching on my end. I don't know which one of
I
us is
am?
glitching. Yeah. I don't know which one of us is glitching.
Could be that Okie service.
It could be, yeah, because we've got storms in the area, so
That's what, yep.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I've discovered that on Sundays my internet goes to crap,
Oh boy.
and I have to reboot reboot the whole system on the weekends because
Well, Barkley says neither
Barkley
of you
says
are
neither
quick.
one of us, so it just must be between the two of us. So
Yep.
through
Mhm.
StreamYard, maybe StreamYard's is getting overloaded tonight.
Could be. Could be with
but
all this awesomeness that we're
Yes.
spewing out
yes, but I mean, we've got they just released that 2 agencies have said that COVID did start in a lab in China by an accidental release, but they and
there. Mhm.
the CDC has let this be known. So you can't hit us for because the article is on Fox News. There's 2 agencies. One of them I think is the CIA. It's finally came out and said that it did originate, in their opinion. At first they were on the fence, but now they've come out and said yes, in degrees, it's like, yeah, in all probability, yes, we agree that it did start there. So,
Speaking of Fox News, Tucker Carlson was granted access to all the video from January 6th. So there's going to be, and a lot of liberals are just having a real cow. Oh, okay. I was looking at private chat. That's not.
well, that's the thing, Barkley. He asked, can we send China a bill for all our COVID expenses? Yeah, and people are calling for President Biden to step up and make China held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There's a lot of pushback starting. We're even starting to see a little bit of it. Woody Harrelson.
Yes, I heard about him on Saturday Night Live last night. Oh
my God! I watched that episode. I watched that part. It was unbelievably good. And I was watching. I forgot who it was. It was their channel, and they were putting their little opinions in during certain parts of it. Like the audience was kind of.
I saw that video. Anti-vaxxers.
Yeah. Are you making fun of me? It's like. Yeah. Of course, Rolling Stone had to jump out in it. And why is Rolling Stone, a music magazine, talking about politics? Maybe they should call it the Political Stone.
Yeah.
Or the millstone, because that's what they are anymore, just a millstone hanging around our necks. Yeah. But he goes and says they bought the meat. He says, I was given this script, in which it says this, and this. He says, I threw the script out. I mean, who would believe it? Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's starting to kick back. It's and the fact that was on NBC.
Yeah, I'm surprised they let him do that. Yeah.
I don't think they knew it was coming because it was Saturday Night Live.
Well, they do have a 7-second delay. They could have shut it down. They could have just shown, technical difficulties. Please stand by.
They could have, but Woody Harrelson would have just taken it to the next level, because Woody Harrelson is, he's a bit of a loose cannon,
Yes, he is.
Mm-hmm. And but it's like there's that, and what else was it that I saw that was a push? There's been so much pushback now.
Good.
Good. And was it? Oh, the grand jury on Trump, out of Georgia, and the 4-person has been making the rounds to CNN and MSNBC, and is basically hinted that Trump's going to be indicted, but she's also like, wink, wink, nod, nod, and she's been saying stuff, and it just has destroyed the case that the prosecution would try to bring, because now it's already tainted it basically tainted the pool, and NBC and or MSNBC and CNN put her on there, and then they're like, maybe we shouldn't have put this person on there. And everybody else is saying, yeah, you just screwed it over for the prosecution. So good job, CNN and MSNBC. And she's a flake anyways. She's a 20-something, and I haven't, but it is so. It's getting to the point where even MSNBC and CNN are having to start looking at things differently. They're having CNN has been like Don Lemon. Sticking his foot in his mouth.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
Oh my God, he's
Google it.
Yes, CNN and Fox both have agendas. CNN is shifting slowly, shifting a little. Oh, they're getting out of the far left. They're finally whittling down because they got a new owner, and they're finally whittling down and getting rid of some of these people. And they're letting some of them hang themselves, like Don Lemon. There's, to be honest, every channel has, every one of these cable stations has an agenda. Your job is
just that the mass majority of them are on the far left.
A 30-year unemployed twit. You're right.
Yeah.
That's what she was. She looks like it too. The typical clueless, millennial. Oh, and speaking of clueless, the American Doll just released another historical doll. The American Doll is these girl dolls that they release in certain types of clothing, and they've released 2 of them. They're twins. And it's ticked off a lot of people because they're classified as historical dolls, but they're from 1999. The era is the 90s. And the people that grew up playing with American Doll back in the 90s don't like the idea that suddenly they're now historical. They're now old. And it's biting like, what? That's not historical. Well, welcome to my
that's
world.
I've been 20 years old,
Yeah, exactly. And it's 25 years old to be exact. 1999 to 24.
It's like with a car. If you have a car that's over 25 years old, it's considered. You could get classic plates for your car.
Yeah, and it's welcome to the world. Exactly. I thought that was so funny that they're just going nuts over this, and I'm thinking, yeah, well, I knew I was getting old when a clip of me in the military showed up on the History Channel. It's like, I'm old now. I've made it to the History Channel. So guess what? Welcome to the world, you bunch of millennial flakes, snowflakes.
Yep.
Millennial snowflakes. And it's like it's hilarious. I'm glad to see a lot of people are just going, oh God, whatever. It's a doll, it's a toy. It's for kids. But to a 4-year-old, 1999. Oh my God, that was in the last century.
That was a long time ago. Yeah.
My grandpa was born. Well, I had one born in 1876, and the other one was born in 1896. That was my grandpa. My grandkids can't even fathom that far back. They're like, what? Oh my God.
That's like my grandfather. He was born in 1896.
Yeah.
And his brother was born in 1890, I believe. And they were both drafted into World War One. The oldest brother, Louis, which is my middle name, he went to France and fought over there.
Ed put up something. Well, Dominic says people need to fill their daily outrage bingo card. You're right.
Yeah.
But then Ed puts up, says, I've been historical for a while. Consult a paleontologist. That's funny because Bill from Coast to Coast Drones started this. Coast to Coast Drones, he's got a Facebook group, and he started this chat with the Facebook group. And we started talking, I forgot what it was, and I mentioned, Bill was talking about his show on Wednesday that, they take dollar tips. And I said, well, are we having pole dancers? That's why when in his show that night, I said, where's the pole dancers? And so somebody said, well, how old are I said, the last time I was around a pole dance in any of those kind of clubs was in the mid to late 70s. Oh my God. One person puts, how old are you? I said, I got a 54-year-old son. You do the math, And
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
20 grandkids, and
Oh,
actually I got
man.
22, I think. But it's like, they said, oh, so when Ed put that about a paleontologist, that's what this guy's reaction says. So we need a paleontologist to keep track of you? I said, yeah. In your
Yeah,
book,
a
especially your online
paleontologist
form,
and then
you feel, oh,
and
yeah,
a
I have to go
geologist.
down. Yeah, right. Well, what Ed said, do you feel old when you have to go down there to start clicking into the, yeah. It's like, I'm getting to that point where there's not that many below me now,
Mhm.
the forms don't go that far back,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, Jesus, I am getting old. Yeah, it's just, but I think it's funny that these millennials are suddenly having to deal with like, to a 5-year-old, you are old. You were born in the last century.
Yep,
You know,
that's right. Yep. I was
like we
born
think.
almost in the middle of the last century.
So was I. Yeah.
So, how about the
And
people that were born like in 1999 and they happen to live to be 102? They'll have seen 3 centuries.
there was a lady just recently. We were sitting here talking about our grandparents our grandparents in the 1890s, 1870s. You know, well, there was a lady that just recently she had survived 2 pandemics. She finally died at the age of 105.
Wow.
But she was the only person to have she did the Spanish flu and COVID,
COVID.
and she had been there for both of them.
Wow.
Mind you, she
That's
was
amazing.
just a 5-year-old kid, 4 or 5-year-old kid,
Right.
when and she has since passed away. But it's
Mhm.
just the fact that yeah, I was sitting there talking to Judy last night. We were talking about our ages and her ages and stuff, and I think I counted up. She's been alive during the presidency of, I think, 13 presidents.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
going back to FDR.
Truman, Truman,
Oh, true.
Truman. Yeah, Truman.
Well, wait a minute. She was in January. Now, Roosevelt was elected in.
But she was born
Oh,
in
that.
49.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Roosevelt
I
had
got
died because he was elected, but he only served about a year of his, or less than a year of his.
less than. Let's see. Yeah, he was reelected in 44.
Right. Well,
And
she was
then
born after that.
the inauguration would have been March of 45.
45. Well, she was born after that, and she was born after he died. She was born
Wow.
just before. She was born in 49.
Okay.
So it would have
Yeah,
been
so
Truman.
that was Truman.
So from
Yeah.
Truman to Biden, all of those presidents in between, she's been around for all of that,
Wow.
and
Well, who would have thought that you and I would have been alive to see 3 of the worst presidents in U.S. history?
I know, right?
Luckily, my dad only had to live through one of them. That was Jimmy Carter. But Roosevelt, he probably would have said, Roosevelt was pretty bad too. On
Boy, it's still
economics, he
53.
was terrible.
I wish I was 53. I don't
prolonged
even remember.
the depression.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah, my dad hated Roosevelt, and because he was in World War II under Roosevelt. And, he's like,
Right.
he gets out after he got wounded and they brought him over on the boat. They announced that he got off the boat, and people are saying they're like real upset. He goes, "What's the matter?" He says, President Roosevelt just died. He says, well, thank God for that. Because of the situation. He'd been wounded, and because of the situation, the way the war was being run by the American military, that was part of, and it's like he wasn't a fan of Roosevelt,
Right.
nor was he a fan of Patton, even though he served under him.
Well, let's say hello to Andrew, who just joined us. Good to see you, sir.
Yes, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And speaking of war, Biden was just in Ukraine to see his little buddy Zelensky and
Yep.
offer support and weapons. So basically, Ukraine is now just like Vietnam, it's a proxy war. Although we don't have troops there, we are sending military equipment.
Right. Yeah. I thought that we should be able to, the United States, I think, should be able to apply for billions of dollars from the UN to help with, because we're in the same situation that the Ukraine is. We've been invaded by a foreign country, so shouldn't we get billions of dollars?
Yeah, that's right.
I think we
border.
qualify. Yeah, the southern border. We're being invaded by Mexico.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And
well, not just Mexico.
Well, yeah, no,
You got
China's
Hondurans
in there, Nicaragua,
and Guatemalans, and but nobody from Belize. Funny.
Yeah, I wonder why.
That's because they speak English there.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of,
what was the former name of that country?
I don't know.
British Honduras.
British Honduras, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and speaking of, I think it was Nicaragua or Honduras. I can't remember which one now. I think it was Honduras. Just opened up. They just built a supermax prison.
Yes, that was
60,000. Yeah, it was a 60,000 bed prison, and they enacted a law that allowed them to start gathering up gangs. And they just put the first two. They just brought the first 2,000 in, and they were MS-13 and something 18 gang members. Another gang. I can't remember, but MS-13 and the other gang. And I don't know if you saw the video, but wow, that was like,
yeah. They saw the problems. Up.
Yeah, well, the thing is they're cracking down. Maybe that will slow down some of this crap that because those were the gangs coming out of Honduras that were helping support the cartels in Mexico, and then coming to the United States. Maybe if Honduras is doing something about it. Do I agree with the totalitarian government they got there? No, but
although those presidents do get to serve at least one term, kind of like the Philippines. Although, who was it? I think it was Zelaya. He wanted to change the constitution so he could run again, and then they had a coup that knocked him out, and then Hernandez got elected.
Yeah.
Because
it's just like the old saying goes, which is Judy's favorite president? I think probably Donald Trump.
Yep.
That's one she liked the most.
Yeah, mine used to be Bush until he started chumming up with Clinton and co-opted his legacy.
I lost a lot of respect for the Bushes. My favorite president.
Barkley doesn't have a wrench? Oh my. We need to fix that.
Oh yeah.
Standard.
He's president of Nicaragua.
There we go.
Which is my
Anybody
favorite
else?
president.
Nope.
I would say Ronald Reagan is probably my favorite president.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan, yeah.
And somebody I just saw, who was it who put up there? Andrew said he's related to FDR. Well, we both got we both got family members that we have to shake our heads about because I'm related to Richard Nixon. So, you got FDR, I got Nixon. We have a whole presidential council here.
Barkley says he's got his best friend's aunt was president of
President of
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. Okay. Yeah, I spent a little time back down there in the old days.
Olden days.
In the olden days, yeah.
Remember when Argentina used to have an economy superior to the United States?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they had all that. They had all that good Nazi gold. They burned it all. Now they spin it all.
There
now,
you go. Well, they had a thriving beef industry, and Europeans decided to screw that up by putting, quotas and stuff.
Yeah, Argentine beef used to be some of the best beef in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, now Japan has the best beef.
Wagyu? Japan. Yeah. It's also the most expensive beef in the world, too.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't see paying that much for a damn dead cow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I've had some really good beef. I need to try some Wagyu to find out what's so special about it.
I can't imagine anything making, if it doesn't taste good with A1 sauce, then what's the point,
Or has the marbled fat that just melts in your mouth.
My father-in-law, Judy's dad, he grew his own Angus, and and it was all
got
field
medication
fed.
for that.
Yeah, well, his beef was always so tender, and best steak I've ever had in my life was when Judy and I were first, but just before we just started dating. I went up there, and he was doing a cookout, and everybody's bragging about how good his steaks were, and of course I'm one that always puts sauce on my steak regardless. I don't care how good it is. I like to have, it's just, that's who I am. Well, he didn't have any of that stuff, and he was bigger than I was, and I knew that to ask for it would have been adding insult to injury, and he probably would have whooped my butt.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, because he was a big old boy. He's a bricklayer, and he was, over 6 foot tall, and he was a big old boy, and I just wasn't good. So I sat down, and I ate that it was a T-bone steak. I ate that whole T-bone steak, and I'm telling you, every bite, even the large side to the fillet side.
Yep. No
all of
bristle.
It just melted in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, I've never had a steak like that before or since.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So Biden goes to
the Ukraine and takes a train ride.
Yeah. Evidently, I guess the White House sent a message to Russia saying, hey, the president's going to be there. Don't do any shit, okay?
Yeah.
Because that would have been, really bad if they had dropped the bomb and wiped out 2 presidents, and that would have brought on a real bad response to the Russians.
Yeah. I'm afraid that would have led us to, was it wise and prudent to send him into an active war zone? I don't know.
Yeah.
And who made the decision to send him there?
Yep. Oh, yeah, Jimmy Carter, and as we all know, he's in a hospice right now. And
Jimmy Carter, I think, has done a far better job as a former president than he ever did in his 4 years in office.
Right.
Having served under Jimmy Carter, I will say that I thought he was a great ambassador for the American people in other countries, and he did some good things.
Mm-hmm.
The Habitat for Humanity, I think, is one of the best things he ever did.
Yep.
But as a president, he just was out of his depth. Yes,
I put him in a different category than Obama and Biden.
Biden.
He wasn't divisive. He was just
No,
naive, and just got really bad advice on the
right.
economy.
He had some bad
and just about
advisors. He
everything.
was, he was. United States throne is coming on. You're switching over. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. We
Take
tend
care,
to do
Billy.
this. But yeah, it's as far as presidents go, he just he wasn't qualified. He was a great I'm sure he was a great governor.
He was a
from
good
Georgia.
governor of Georgia.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sure
but he just didn't have the. He did a lot of stuff in the military.
Some really terrible people on
advice,
his cabinet.
Yeah. And I think the same thing happened to George W. I think he had some people on his cabinet that were leftovers from his dad. I think I think Trump had some bad advisors.
Yes,
Carter
I think
tried to get us a metric
first
system.
Year
The only thing,
or so,
we're the only country. Liberia doesn't count. Not on the metric system. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, England is a weird one because they're both metric and standard.
Yeah.
Because I think their speed limits are in miles per hour. But
I
is
forgot
it England
what,
or is that Australia, or is Australia miles per hour?
Might be
one of them uses and look at Canada. They use they use the gallon, but it's a
they use the liter.
Oh, they've gone to liter.
Pump gas, you're getting liter.
Yeah, but they had a Canadian gallon that was different than the American gallon. That they I guess they finally switched completely. Last time I was in Canada, which was back in the 70s, they still had the Canadian gallon.
Yep.
So
I remember driving across Canada as a kid. Wow, 100 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
Well, that's really 60 miles an hour.
60 miles an hour. Yeah. Yeah, I did that. Grant says that they're full metric, but the old timers still use imperial and metric. Yeah. I was still thinking one of the British Commonwealth countries still uses the speed as imperial.
Oh yeah.
70 kph is 55 miles an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, most of our vehicles have kilometers and miles per hour on their,
Well, and a lot of cars are made in Canada and shipped here of Ford, Chrysler, and I think GM. The big three have plants. And
Andrew, I know what the secret was. It was the feed that he gave him, which was all natural field, and the fact that he was pure Angus, and no growth hormones, none of that stuff. It was all natural, just the way it used to be raised. That was the secret to his good steaks, Andrew. But
yep.
We're the weirdos that use both. Yeah, we do use both. Yeah. England does use miles per hour. Thank you, Grant. I thought so. Yeah.
But drug dealers, they use the metric.
Yes. Yeah.
They like to
kilos,
use grams.
Yeah, grams, kilos,
liters, and kilos, and
yeah.
Hey, we had a radio station here in, I think they were out of Colorado Springs, called KILO.
KILO, yeah.
I think they're still called that. Well, folks, we have done just a little bit over an hour. We covered a lot of stuff. It was a lively show. We had a pretty good crowd for, taking a week off. And so thanks for coming, and have a great rest of the week. God bless you, and catch you next time.
See you all tomorrow, guys.